You know, for so many skilled professionals in the US, that dream of getting a green card feels, well, it feels more like a marathon with no finish line in sight. So, what do you do when the wait becomes just impossibly long? Today, we're going to dig into a pretty radical alternative, making the switch from the employment based EB-2 track to the investment based EB-5 path.
If you're here on an H-1B visa, this question probably hits pretty close to home. I mean, you've done everything right, you've played by the rules, got that advanced degree, you're excelling in your field, and yet the goalpost for actually getting permanent residency just keeps moving further and further away.
And look, that's not an exaggeration. We're talking about a potential 50-year wait. That isn't a career plan, that's basically a whole lifetime. This number, this staggering number, is the exact reason why so many people are forced to look for a completely different way forward.
So what is actually causing this unbelievable delay? Well, it's a systemic problem, and we can call it the green card gridlock. Here's the thing you have to understand. The US immigration system has these strict annual limits on how many green cards can be handed out to people from any single country. So for places with a ton of highly skilled applicants like India and China, it just creates this massive, massive bottleneck. Your personal qualifications could be absolutely perfect, but you're still stuck in a traffic jam that has absolutely nothing to do with you or your merit.
So when you're faced with a gridlock like that, a lot of people start looking for a totally different road. And that brings us to our next topic, the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program. It's a pathway that, honestly, plays by a completely different set of rules. Okay, so what is the EB-5 program? At its core, it's pretty straightforward. It's all about boosting the US economy. You invest a pretty significant chunk of money into a business that creates jobs for American workers, and in return, you become eligible for a green card. It basically shifts the whole basis of your application from your professional skills over to your capital investment. But the real game changer here, it all boils down to one simple word: control. All of a sudden, you're not chained to a specific employer anymore. You're in the driver's seat of your own immigration journey. And maybe most importantly, there are these special set-aside visas that create a dedicated fast lane, letting you completely bypass those enormous country-specific backlogs. So, while this path sounds really promising, it's definitely not a simple choice. It's a major trade-off. Let's really dig in and weigh the options by looking at the numbers and the commitments involved. The first big number you need to know is the main entry point. To get access to those faster set-aside visas, the investment is $800,000. And this has to be put into a project that's in what's called a targeted employment area, or TEA, which usually just means a rural area or a place with high unemployment. Now, for projects that are outside of those designated areas, the standard minimum investment jumps up to just over $1 million. This is a huge financial commitment, and it's really the central pillar of the whole EB-5 pathway. This table right here lays out the entire dilemma perfectly. On the left, you've got the EB-2 path. It's based on your skills, the financial cost is pretty minimal, but you're highly dependent on your employer and you're facing that wait that could be decades long. Then on the right, you've got the EB-5 path. It's based on your money. It gives you independence and a much faster timeline, but it demands that huge financial commitment. You have to create jobs, and here's another key difference: the green card you get at first is only conditional. So if you're seriously considering this, what does that journey actually look like? It's not just about writing a check. It is a multi-year process with very distant stages. At a high level, you should probably expect the whole process to take about 5 to 7 years, maybe even longer. You start by investing your money and filing that initial petition. Then, a few years down the road, you get a 2-year conditional green card. And finally, after you prove that your investment created the jobs it was supposed to, you apply to get those conditions removed and get your permanent green card. Let's break that down just a little bit more. First, you have to do your homework and pick a project. Then you file the main petition, the I-526E, and this is where you have to prove, crucially, that your investment money was all obtained legally. Once that's approved, you get your visa and that 2-year conditional green card. The very last step is filing another form, the I-829, to prove the jobs were created and finally make your residency permanent. Okay, this is a really serious undertaking, so it is absolutely essential to go into it with your eyes wide open. Let's talk about the reality of the investment and the homework you absolutely have to do. This is probably one of the most common questions people ask, and the answer, it might surprise you. If you're thinking about this like you would a typical stock market investment, you're going to need to adjust your expectations. As you can see here, the financial return on most of these EB-5 projects is, well, it's pretty modest. We're often talking just 0.5% to maybe 3%. You have to understand that the real return on investment here isn't about making more money. It's the green card. This is an immigration strategy first and a financial investment a very, very distant second.
So the most important thing is choosing the right project. That's how you protect both your money and your immigration chances. You want to look for projects in those designated areas, run by developers who have done this before. You want to see a clear, believable plan for how they're going to create jobs, and a really well-defined strategy for how and when you'll get your money back.
And let's just be direct about the hurdles, okay? The source of funds paperwork is intense. You have to prove where every single dollar came from. And you have to remember, the law requires your capital to be at risk, which is a fancy way of saying there is no guarantee you'll get it back. Oh, and all the while, you still have to maintain your current visa status, like your H-1B, right up until your green card is physically in your hand. So it all just boils down to this one simple idea. The EB-5 program offers a potential shortcut around a wait that could last decades. But that shortcut comes with a hefty price tag, a complex, multi-year process that requires you to put a very, very significant amount of your money on the line. So, this is the question it all comes down to, right? Is the speed and the control that comes with a faster green card worth the substantial financial risk? There's no single right answer here. The correct choice depends completely on your personal priorities, your finances, and what you are willing to trade for a permanent future here in the US.